Hey there, it's meteorologist Jamie Singleton. It's your daily weather map discussion for uh, Tuesday, 28th of April, 2020. Looking at a very active system off to the west here with a cold front moving through the Midwest. And then behind it, we've got some very strong wind. There's a lot of upper energy here. I'll show you that in just a second. But this is diving down to the south. And the prefrontal line of rain developed and moved out ahead of the front. This is some damaging thunderstorm straight line wind activity going through Springfield, Illinois, or Springfield, Missouri, rather. Springfield, Illinois as well. St. Louis, we got some embedded tornado warnings in here where we're seeing some spin along the line, but for the most part, these are not discrete cells. These are, for the most part, just a squall line or bowing segments here that are producing lots of wind damage. There you see in Missouri, we've had several reports of wind damage with this line, and new severe thunderstorm watches in effect all the way through Memphis, back through Little Rock, Arkansas, and the Dallas, Texas, and Shreveport, Louisiana. There's another complex of storms that developed out ahead of this and raced on with the upper level winds down toward the Gulf of Mexico with wind damage reports and some wind gust reports out around New Orleans. So it's going to be an active pattern here over the next 24 hours. Let me show you the satellite picture and the radar representation. I'll put the radar off and just show you the satellite right now. And you can see that we've got some over the east, a lot of debris cloudiness. So we had a lot of cloudiness over the area for Tuesday, a couple of spotty showers. But for the most part, this is warm air advection in the upper levels causing that. We've got the main system back here off to the west. And I want to put on the water vapor because that really tells the story. You can put on the water vapor and see that there is one swirl here, there's another swirl here, and they're all diving down to the south. So this is a digging system, and you can see the drier areas in red, the darker colors, and then the darker blues. This is where we have a lot of moisture suspended out with that convection. So we'll put that into motion, let that load for you here, just to tell you it's probably going to be another situation where we have all kinds of threats with this, but I'm mainly concerned for Virginia and the mid-Atlantic area for the heavy rain potential with this, but also the straight line wind potential. So this is the upper level energy, and you can see it right through here. One vigorous swirl vorticity center there going through northern Wisconsin. You've got more here coming out of North Dakota. And again, all this energy is going to kind of rotate around itself and dig down closer. By the time we go into Friday morning, it will be centered over Virginia. So that's going to do a lot of work in the meantime. And you can see the continuous line of very heavy rain and strong winds that are occurring right now from the Chicago area all the way down to Oklahoma. Right, so there's how it looks. Big ridge here off to the west. And we're still basically the overall same pattern, just a matter of where our short waves are ending up each week. And this one's is starting from the northern branch, but will become its own system there as it closes off over the next couple of days. So this is how it looks on the surface from the high-res NAM. And we have just a few showers around in spots, but for the most part, I think this is going to wait until the actual front itself nears here's wherever you're watching from. So I'm talking about Virginia, but in the south, it'll be, tomorrow morning around Birmingham and Huntsville when this begins to flare up into the early afternoon. But it's going to start to stall or at least slow down. And that's because the upper level winds are going to start blowing in from the south as the system digs. So what that will do to our line here is it's going to become negative tilt aloft, so that it's going to strengthen our line at the surface, and it will also slow it down. So you can see here this is Wednesday night, early Thursday morning, and I'm backing it up here. We still don't have a lot of rain occurring even Wednesday evening, unless you count this upslope stuff against the Blue Ridge. It's not until maybe midnight or so into the early morning hours of Thursday. That may be a saving grace for some folks, and that it's the cooler part of the day. But there's going to be some very strong southeasterly winds running into this line, and there could be some spinning along that line as well. But I don't know how unstable we're going to be. I do think we're going to be very, very wet as we go through 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And these are going to be rainfall rates that may exceed 2 or 3 inches an hour, as we saw a couple of weeks ago. This is all kind of moderate rain back here, but it's going to take this line through the morning on Thursday to get through here. It does start to book it as it gets some of that upper level wind energy behind it, but I don't know. I think it's still going to be raining out behind here. So I'm mainly concerned through the Carolinas, even into Virginia, and all the way up into Maryland, Pennsylvania for some flash flooding potential. West Virginia Panhandle as well. That's the main line. Notice behind it, we have some clearing that comes in here for Thursday. During the day, you get very cold air aloft, get some clearing, and you get these pop-up showers and bands of storms. And these can be strong too, even though the front or the main line is off to your east. You can still see some heavier activity at times Thursday, and then going into Friday as well. Here's how it looks on the upper level temperatures, and we look at about 18,000 feet. This is cold air that's diving into the system, and if you study synoptic meteorology, you know that when you introduce cold air into a system, it will deepen, and that's exactly what happens. Notice here, we don't see this move off to the east. We see it elongate and go to the south. So that's an amplifying system here as we go into Thursday. Now, I mentioned the line's going to be out here off the coast, near the coast by early Thursday afternoon, but we're still going to have cold air diving into the upper level system. So it's that's going to closes the height contours off here Thursday and the Friday, and that will make it possible, I think. We're going to have -23C air at about 18,000 feet Friday. That's going to make it possible for any little convective shower that tries to develop to easily maybe produce some pea-sized hail. And here behind our heavy rain and our strong straight line winds. Again, the straight line winds could have some embedded circulations in them as well. This is Tropical Tidbits. This is the forecast off of the GFS showing the Cape highlighted in the wind shear as well. This is off the 12Z. But as we go through the day on Wednesday, you've got very minimal Cape with this system. That's why it's probably going to be a solidified line that'll be more dynamically driven rather than convectively driven, but you are going to have some convective elements. Still some very limited Cape, but I do think maybe enough to get some thunder. It's going to be just a squall line, I think, of wind and rain for a good part of Atlantic as this comes on through. And if you look at the dynamic pressure at the tropopause here, you can see the EV anomalies here rotate around this thing. This is a indicator of basically where the upper level energy is. It can be. See it. It starts out again. It's starting out over Dakotas, and there's an evolution of how elongated it gets and how far south it gets. So when we say digging, this is what we mean. It's not going east. It doesn't go to the Great Lakes. It dives south all the way into almost down to the Gulf of Mexico. Follow those blue colors there. Then it closes off, and then it our ridge builds back in. UK Met today. Show the UK Met. It's an underrated model. And I like to mix maps up too to get some variety here, but it shows overnight convection going into Wednesday morning. This is where it thinks a lot of the storminess will be through Texas, and again, basically south and east of where we have it now. So for the moment, it is moving east, but as it reaches Virginia, it slows down. And notice our precipitation goes way up here, and I don't know how clearly you can see that, but I'm going to just tell it to you here. These are 3-inch plus values in western North Carolina showing up off the UK Met model, rainfall wise, going through. This is only 6-hour precipitation, so that is very concerning. 3 and 4 inches of rain in just 6 hours through 8 p.m. Wednesday through 2 a.m. Thursday, and then it moves into Virginia, and the rainfall amounts right at 2.5 to 3 inches, maybe up to 4. So this is going to be a flash flooding issue and a flooding issue, I think. So Thursday, all across Virginia, North Carolina as well, but especially the western North Carolina mountains here into West Virginia, Greenbrier Valley, and into Southwest Virginia. It's going to be pretty rainy and going to have some flooding issues, I think. And behind that, again, the main line by Thursday evening goes to the coast. Then behind that, notice the splotches of showers that pop up underneath upper level system. So if you were just looking at the surface, you'd say, oh, it's just a Wednesday night, early Thursday thing. But I'm carrying showery bands and maybe some pea-sized tail in through Friday because of the upper level part of this system. Here's the Euro height anomalies. And this is our disturbance right there in the blue. So again, in the east, I'm not too worried about Wednesday so much. I mean, maybe definitely out here to the west, it's going to be getting stormy for us. But this really intensifies by the time it gets to Virginia. So you can see it again digging here. Digging and digging. And this is only going out to Thursday night. You can still see it has made very little movement, but it is moving east with time. Still centered over Virginia, North Carolina here. The height anomalies are coming up for us Friday afternoon. So that's why, again, Friday's going to be no walk in the park either. I think we're going to see some showers and thunderstorms. They'll be more scattered, but they'll be there underneath that upper low. And then that upper low meanders into the weekend for our friends in the Northeast. Got a bit of a ridge here, long ridge here, that's going to return warmer weather to the forecast. And that'll be a change of pace for the upcoming weekend. But I don't know if it's going to be so long-lived because you can see here by Sunday and the Monday, here comes another lowering of heights here with some energy coming out of the Great Lakes. This is a dry pattern for us, but so I'm not really worried about showers or storms Sunday, as I mentioned on my Patreon. But we are going to get cooler again as we go into Tuesday. And then again, look at this Wednesday, the 7th, 8th of May, huge trough here over the east. Again, this is our line, and again, it's by the time it gets here at in Virginia and North Carolina through Charlotte up to Roanoke, it's going to be a Wednesday night thing, and there's going to be probably some flood advisories and flood warnings, flash flood warnings, even some rotation. Again, there's going to be some spin along this line as well. Here's how it looks on the WPC maps. Wednesday, this is our warm front that brought the showers to the area today. It's up north of us across DC. It kind of stalls there for Wednesday morning. And then by Wednesday evening, they've got the rain getting in here pretty early, which may happen if it outruns the front, but I do think it's going to slow down. So it'll be right up against the front coming up by Thursday. But there's rain behind the front as well because the upper level system is so intense and it's back there. Then we clear out for the weekend. Sunday, again, it's not a big deal. This has very limited moisture, very limited lift. So I'm not really worried about the Sunday and the Sunday night or Monday. I think downsloping is going to kill whatever tries to develop along this front. And I've got sunny Sunday. My Tuesday and Wednesday things will start to organize again. Let's see if there's anything else I will show. Oh, yes. Low level jet. Need to look at that because we're going to have a lot of wind energy. Spring storms often do have that wind energy because of the pressure gradient. You go into tomorrow morning, low level jet starts to ramp up here. This is the prefrontal jet that'll be feeding that squall line here, and you're looking at winds of between 38 and 62, 66 knots. So very strong winds. There's also a post-frontal jet. So we've got at the head of the front and behind the front as well. So we're going to be windy tomorrow across a good part of the South and Mid-Atlantic as that mixes down to the surface with the sunshine. And I am expecting sunshine out ahead of the main line. That again won't be coming in here until probably after 0Z Thursday into early Thursday. And look at the winds start to increase big time. Low level jet increases by 2 a.m. Thursday up to about 50 to 60, 65 miles per hour. And that bright color there is around 66 to 70 miles or knots, and that's about 75 miles per hour. So whatever little spin we get, we'll have plenty of wind to work with, and that's why I'm a little bit worried about the rotation potential. But this will be a solid line more than likely, so uh, anything will be the type of variety where we do see something kind of just spin up along the line. I don't like using that word, but this will actually be the case this time. Expect discrete supercells, as I expect line. So going into Friday, we'll finally get on the back side of this circulation here, but it's still fairly breezy across the area, albeit not nearly as windy as it was out ahead of the system for the mid-Atlantic area. Stay weather aware. It's going to be a busy pattern for us coming up. I did want to show you the Storm Prediction Center convective outlook. Back here, this is for now. Our moderate risk over the Red River Valley. General thunderstorms getting all the way to about Bristol with the scattered stuff well out ahead of this. But again, it's during the day tomorrow. This actually goes through 8 o'clock a.m. on Thursday. You've got the marginal risk up Southwest Virginia through the Carolinas here. The slight risk is down across the south, and then just general thunderstorms as well. So not a huge severe weather risk, but I do anticipate severe thunderstorm warnings potentially because of the straight line winds. But again, this isn't screaming supercells to us; it's screaming dynamically driven wind and rain.